Andor Season 2 is returning to Greenham Common, a famous filming location for The Force Awakens. After filming was halted in Dorset Quarry due to safety reasons, Segra Milo scenes with Saw Gerrera's base have moved to Newbury, where we can also confirm the return of Moroff and Benthic Two Tubes, who both appeared in Andor Season 1 and Rogue One, although Moroff was resigned to the background of most shots in Andor Season 1. But now these famous partisans return. So today, my dear Mandalorians, we have some awesome updates for Skeleton Crew, where Jude Law confirmed his character is a Jedi, and he also teases some familiar species and characters. Enjoy. Hello my dear friends, and welcome back to another video. So today we're going to be talking about Skeleton Crew, but before we do, I just want to share with you a little tidbit. You can find me on Twitter at StarWarsMeg1, and often after I've posted, I also let my Twitter following know that a new video is out. Well, as usual, I did that yesterday, and to my absolute surprise, YouTube creators commented, "The Force is strong with this one." It absolutely made my day. This might not seem very significant, but it came out of left field. I didn't expect it. Some really awesome comments from some of you guys, but no more jibber jabber, on with today's video. Skeleton Crew, the upcoming Mandalorian Universe show by Jon Watts and Chris Ford. This series is really going to be something very different. We've heard about the Goonies influence, it's going to be very Amblin, and even some Stranger Things in space. It's going to combine a lot of those aspects. Now, we did have reports that production was an absolute disaster, and when that came out, a lot of fans sort of freaked out because they said, well, if the directors got things wrong, if production was rushed, if there were a lot of reshoots, it's not going to come together as a very coherent show. Well, that doesn't seem to be the case because when they showed the teaser trailer at Star Wars Celebration, at the Lucasfilm showcase on the Friday, fans were blown away. I met a lot of fans in real life, and what seemed to have been a commonality between all of us is that the Skeleton Crew trailer really knocked our socks off. We didn't expect it. It's got a very unique vibe, and I will say the Stranger Things in space thing does come into it more than you think. So while this show is of course family friendly, aimed at kids, it's got a more juvenile feel to it than something like the Andor show or the Mandalorian. It does stand very well in terms of dark undertones and more adult themes when it comes to more of a thriller genre. Because these are kids who go off on adventures, they get lost in space, and they come across Jude Law's character, the teacher, who is confirmed to be a Jedi. This was revealed to us at Star Wars Celebration, and I'm super excited for any possible connections. Now, outside of those Celebration reveals, I think this is one of the first times that Jude Law is opening up and talking about the show, and Jimmy Fallon does kind of say, we don't know too much about it, but fans are very hyped. But he does mention that we are going to see Jawas. I love those little guys. They're one of my favourite species, harkening all the way back to 1977's A New Hope, the original Star Wars movie. I absolutely love it. But is Jude Law implying we are going back to Tatooine? It is a planet we've seen quite a lot of, between the Kenobi show Book of Boba Fett, in Mando Season 1 and 2, a little bit at the start of Chapter 18 of Season 3, so are we going back there? Or maybe like we saw in The Mandalorian, they're off-world Jawas, from Avala 7, Nevarro, maybe a new planet altogether. Maybe Jawas with yet again more eye colours, imagine one with green eyes. So I'm going to be reacting and then we'll talk about it. Let's dive straight into this.
There are wonderful, as you can imagine, twists and turns and reveals and...
Are there 4 children?
There are 4 children. Between the ages of 10 and 12, they get lost. They come from a kind of mysterious planet. They get blasted off and lost in the world of Star Wars. And Jon Watts, the brilliant director of last Spider-Man trilogy, he headed up the directors. It's got a little more... What they described it as is a little more Amblin. It's an adventure of kids, but it's not in the kids' world. The jeopardy is real, and it was a blast.
And Jimmy's right, there's not too much information about the show at this stage. He does say there's a bit of buzz. I would say it's one of the quietest shows. Outside of Celebration, outside of all of the hype, everyone in that room, I've not seen too many fans online talk about it, probably because it's quite far away and we don't have anything to go off. They are expecting it to drop in 2023, probably in October or December, but as Making Star Wars says, they wouldn't be too surprised if it's pushed to 2024. When it comes to Skeleton Crew, with all of the description of it being Amblin, I would say this show is going to be probably very good family watching. So just before we get to the Jawa bit, he does mention a lot of aliens, a lot of droids. I wonder if we're going to the Mos Eisley Cantina. As we saw in Mando, since Wura is no longer the bartender, droids seem to be allowed. Even if it's not that cantina, if we are going to Tatooine, there will be some other establishments, and they seem to be going for that classic original trilogy vibe. The first picture we got from the show did have those droids that we see in front of Jabba's palace, the TTA-TEL Y7 gatekeeper droids, so we're probably going to see that kind of aesthetic, the dark, grimy underworld of Tatooine. This really does sound like Tatooine. Seeing him so enthused as a Star Wars fan gets me so excited. Jude has admitted in the past he was a huge Star Wars fan growing up, and one of the first ever teases he gave at D23 is that he was starstruck by familiar characters. I don't know if he was referring to the aliens, to the bar scenes, to the Jawas, just familiar species, or if he meant real legacy characters, because there have been fan theories of Han Solo, maybe Lando Calrissian and others showing up. Not to mention Hondo Ohnaka. Gorian Shard's men are going to be back, not Gorian himself, but pirates like Vane. Could we come across some others, maybe Hondo and his little friend Melch? But as I say, from what I've seen from the teaser trailer, the reason I say that is I don't think Jude Law's going to be amazing in this show. He's a big A-lister to join Star Wars, but I can imagine him working so well in this kind of show. He's got the right attitude, he loves the franchise, and he's also got a sort of cadence, a cadence that's going to make his Jedi teacher persona very distinctive and memorable. I'm really hoping for the best. And given that Thrawn has Jedi hunters, Baylan and Shin, maybe they go after him as well. We do know all of the Mandoverse is connected.
I've been very lucky.
Yeah.
I've worked with some particularly respectable actors, but I've never been starstruck like I was when I met a Jawa. I saw a Jawa walking by.
Is Jon Favreau involved with this one?
Yes, he's exec, yeah.
He's fantastic, man.
He is.
I like that guy.
He's got a wonderful family feel in Manhattan Beach where we shot it. There were a couple of other projects going on. Yeah, it was a really wonderful experience. I hope you will have the same experience watching it.
So share your thoughts in the comments down below of everything Jude Law teased. Are you excited for Skeleton Crew? Why so or why not? In other Star Wars news, Jedi Survivor officially releases tomorrow, and a lot of the early reviews are very promising. I won't spoil anything, but I've got a good idea about the story from those who've played it all the way through. The journey you're taken on in the game, the story itself, is a huge emotional rollercoaster with a lot of twists, and in many ways, and I know a lot of fans will agree with this, it's the perfect sequel, or as close as you're going to get to perfect, to Fallen Order, the first game. And I asked you guys if you're going to be playing it, and by the sounds of things, many fans are, but even out of those who are not going to play it, a good portion said they're interested in finding out what happens in the game, the story and the development, and what happens to Cal Kestis. I will be covering some of it on the channel, some of the things that happen in the game, the big moments, and what it means in terms of lore, and the Star Wars timeline at this stage. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one. May the Force be with you always.